Now this is just downright evil, and if you're watching this video, I imagine many of you are benefiting from the SNAP program. You are recipients of food stamps. Now, I could go on for hours about how a lot of the programs we have that allow people of lower income to be able to avoid food insecurity, or at least be less food insecure than they would be otherwise, are far from perfect. When I found out, I believe it's EBT, when I found out that EBT doesn't cover hot meals, specifically meals that are hot, I lost my fucking mind. I actually, started tweaking with anger, because I know what it's like to have gone a couple weeks without a hot meal, and it starts to get to you a little bit. You know how in Zomboid, eating cold, processed food back to back to back for days makes you have a dark red unhappiness moodle? That is real. That is a thing in real life. If you go too long without a hot meal, that gets to you, bro. There is something about EBT and SNAP not covering hot meals that just burns me. I don't even benefit from these programs. I don't use these programs, but there's something about it that just feels deliberately designed to give the financially insecure the least support they can, or to look like they're giving them support, but to give them support in a way that still hampers their productivity and capability of fighting to achieve better in life, to achieve a better socioeconomic status, you know? Comment down below if you're watching this video and you benefit from SNAP or food stamps or EBT, and your benefits are threatened by this, and if you feel as though this is a really big deal, because I think this is going to change a lot of people's minds. There is no doubt in my mind that for some reason, a lot of people who benefit from these programs that the Republicans have always been against supported Trump. And I think the fact that they are now going to go hungry because they supported Trump is a pretty big deal. I think it's going to matter. I really am curious to see whether or not this moves people. I think it might. I really, really think it might. With that said, I've got a video brought up right here. It's called "Judge Indicates She'll Intervene and Fight Over SNAP Food Assistance Money." And so this is a news update on the story where Trump is attacking SNAP. He's trying to use the government shutdown as an opportunity to starve out, let's be honest, people of color. They want to starve out people of color. This is done by racist white supremacists who absolutely know that low-income POC avoid starvation using these benefits, food stamps notably, and they are trying to cut off these benefits to starve specifically those people. Make no mistake, thankfully this is being met with overwhelming resistance. People are not happy. And I'm glad to say that there are even judges getting involved trying to stop this in its tracks. So all hope is not lost. Now, if you want to support this video because you end up liking it, maybe leave a comment and a like down below. It really does help a lot, and it's totally free. Hype the video if you really want to boost it in the algorithm, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Anyway, folks, without any further ado, let's get into this demonic news. There's no other way to describe it. It's demonic.
Major development this afternoon as millions of Americans are preparing to lose government food assistance. A federal judge now says she may intervene to compel the Trump administration into using emergency funds to keep the SNAP program open. If not, 42 million Americans will begin to lose their benefits starting on Saturday.
It is day 30 of the government shutdown, and as the pain sets in for so many, lawmakers are scrambling. Today, Republican leaders are blasting Democrats.
To this, she's mentioning it right now, and I hate to be a pause Andy, but not really, because I'm a content creator, and I do this job to talk about things, not to watch about things on camera. But the Republicans have been desperately trying to throw blame on the shutdown onto Democrats, but make no mistake, the Republicans are doing this shutdown for a number of reasons, first and foremost being that a Democrat won an election that if the government was open by now, 30 days ago, she would have been certified, and she has pledged to vote yes on the, I think it's the Oversight Committee, I think is what it's called, into the Epstein files. They are running an initiative, a vote, to force a release of the unredacted full Epstein files, which would absolutely incriminate Trump based on insider info from the DOJ. And yeah, they're going to force the release of the Epstein files. They just need one yes vote, one more yes vote, and they can do it. And the Democrat who is elected but has not been certified because the government's been shut down has pledged to vote yes, which means the moment the government is back to being not shut down, the Epstein files are imminently going to release, and they are going to incriminate Trump. The Republicans are desperate to make Americans forget the Epstein files as quick as possible. They want to allow the government to reopen. They are very hampered by not having the government be open right now. It's not even great for the Republicans. The problem is Americans are not forgetting the Epstein files, and they do not want these files dropping before a critical mass of Americans have forgotten about them.
Push for a partial reopening. Here's what House Speaker Mike Johnson told CNN today.
If you deviate from the goal of reopening the entire government, Chuck Schumer and the radicals over there will continue to play games with people's paychecks, their livelihoods, and if you do just...
The Republicans are refusing to reopen the government entirely, so now the Democrats are trying to get them to agree to a compromise partial reopening of the government, and now the Republicans are responding, "The fact that you just want to reopen the government partially is so evil. How can you play with people's lives like this?" And meanwhile, they're the ones who are refusing to reopen the government and forcing the Democrats to try and compromise with them. And the fact that they're trying to compromise is now being used as evidence against the Democrats. Unbelievable how shameless these people are, how willing to lie to your face they are. And once again, it's that beautiful example of how Republicans lie in this day and age. They don't just make up some out there claim. They take the truth, then they invert every part of it. They turn every positive into a negative and every negative into a positive. Then they recite exactly that lie, the opposite, the exact polar opposite of the truth, forcing Democrats and liberals and leftists into a situation where our only response realistically can be, well, no, actually the exact opposite in every single way is the truth. And that is just not a very compelling argument. It's almost like the debate version of No You.
Part of this, it will reduce the pressure for them to do all of it, to do their basic job, and that is reopen the government. This is very real and very serious, and they can end it today.
CNN's Renee Marsh and Danny Freeman are following all of this for us. Renee, what more is the judge saying in this effort to keep SNAP money flowing?
Right. So there's this pot of more than $5 billion in emergency funds just sitting at the USDA. And the Trump administration said in court today that the agency was prohibited from tapping into those emergency funds to keep the assistance benefits flowing to those 42 million Americans who rely on it. The Trump administration.
As much as the Republicans can try and claim the Democrats are behind the shutdown, it's really hard. I guess they could go on the media and start claiming the Democrats are refusing to allow funding to go to SNAP and whatnot. But, like, this is just a case where I don't think anyone's going to buy the Republicans aren't the ones not allowing emergency funds to go to these programs. And people, a lot of people, are going to go hungry because of this. Mind you, it's not just that people are going to lose SNAP benefits. They're going to lose SNAP benefits in a time where they need them more than ever. What is it, like 16 or 20% of Americans, as of like a couple weeks ago, are missing their car payments because they can't afford them? Car payments are a bill. That's a bill you budget in to have to pay every month. Like, you pay your rent or your mortgage, you pay your utilities, you pay your car payment, you pay your insurance payments. All of these things, these are fundamental bills that must be paid. You cannot go month to month without paying these things, and you always budget to pay these things first and foremost. Whatever money you have left over, part of it goes into savings. The rest of it can maybe be used frugally as, spending for leisure. Right now, people have lost all their leisure money. They've lost all their spending money. They've lost all their savings. And now they can't afford to pay those fundamental bills that everyone budgets for first and foremost. And now they're losing SNAP benefits. This is a level of poverty and economic ruination for the average American that is going to result in severe political consequences. I cannot wait to see the polling results in a few months. The January polling results are going to be insane. I think 2026 is going to be the year of the lib. I genuinely do.
Administration's lawyers also said that the agency didn't want to use those funds. And the judge really pressed them pretty hard on this, asking where in the law does it prohibit using these funds to prevent the suspension of SNAP benefits, which, by the way, SNAP benefits have never been suspended or reduced before. But the administration's lawyers.
This is unprecedented. People who have gone decades being able to rely on something to ensure they and their family won't starve are now going to starve. Let me tell you, nothing radicalizes people against the current administration like seeing their kids go hungry. A parent feels a biological imperative to protect their children, but when they literally can't make their kids' stomachs not hurt from the hunger, it is going to drive them unbelievably crazy. That is what makes people revolt. Like, the thing that actually causes a national revolution, an overthrow of capitalism, is when countless Americans are powerless to keep their kids from starving to death. That is when you see riots in the streets and a full-blown revolution. I'm not saying that's where we're headed, but we're definitely getting closer to that than where we were before Trump came into office.
Struggled to really give a clear and even convincing reason for.
Let them eat Twinkies.
Administration's lawyers struggled to really give a clear and even convincing reason for why they needed to suspend these benefits. The judge at one point was so confused by the administration's arguments that she said, quote, "Congress has put money in an emergency fund for an emergency, and it's hard for me to understand how this isn't an emergency when there's no money and a lot of people are needing their SNAP benefits." And that really was a key moment. The judge indicated that she may ask the agency to explore reducing benefits because of the dwindling amount of available funds, as opposed to stopping the benefits altogether. That would be complicated because the USDA would have to recalculate how much specific states will get. Then states will have to recalculate how much individuals will get. But here's the bottom line. Come November 1st, the SNAP benefits will not be available for the people who rely on them. The judge says that she's going to be working quickly to come up with an emergency decision, but she clearly was not buying the Trump administration's argument that they had no choice other than to stop these benefits during the shutdown.
Mind you, this is on top of so many other things. Like, one thing I think we got to remember is I think a lot of people who are already left-leaning, we can't just assume they'll always be left-leaning. That's an assumption too many people on the left tend to make, is that, like, their fellow progressives will always be progressive and they'll never shift rightward as they get older, or as they have their incentives change if they potentially break into a new income bracket where their taxes maybe get higher, for instance. A lot of people, as they get older and wealthier, get more conservative. There are reasons for that. Things like this are what help to solidify a left-wing voter base that doesn't start switching up and going Republican as they get older.
Thank you so much for that report, Renee. Let's go now to Danny Freeman, because Danny's at a food pantry in the Philadelphia suburb of Prospect Park. How are folks there preparing as so many of their neighbors are about to lose benefits?
Yeah, Boris, I'll be honest with you. It's incredibly stressful for a lot of people that we've been speaking with who have had to come here because their last SNAP check came weeks ago and they're not expecting it to come when this Saturday begins. And you've seen the strain because there are people who have kids. We spoke to a woman who has 4 kids and she needs to put food on the table, which is why she ended up coming here. So we're at Loaves and Fishes. It's a food pantry, like you noted, in Delaware County, Delco, just outside of Philadelphia. And I want to actually bring in Pastor Chris, you're the director here. Thank you for being with us. So tell me, what has the impact been that this community has felt because of this impending expiration of these SNAP benefits?
Sure. So we've probably seen an increase of about 30% in our families just in the last couple of weeks that are coming for a visit. So folks in anticipation of what's going on with SNAP.
And again, they're telling you specifically it's because of this SNAP expiration.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality is that I think the figure is that for every one meal that a food pantry can provide, SNAP provides 9. And so we're extremely grateful. Like, the community outpouring has been huge.
I'm really glad there are going to be places people can go. I think this is going to be a time where direct action and mutual aid, these are really buzzwordy kind of phrases, and I feel like a lot of people forget what they mean. Mutual aid is when you do anything you can to help people that are less fortunate in your community. Even if it's just your time. If you're unemployed and you're just in a situation where you don't really have to work, maybe volunteer some of your free time to a local food kitchen. You know, we're about to be in a time where a lot of people are going to be desperate for every last bit of help they can get. And this is the kind of time where mutual aid and direct action, you know, protesting these things on the street, helping to make people aware, and using your free time to directly help people. I can't say there's ever been a time in our lifetimes, at least in this country, where it has been more viable a strategy to reach out to people and maybe move them over politically.
Huge in terms of donations and volunteers. Certainly could always use more, but you can't make up that kind of a difference. Like, you can't make up those 9 meals just with that.
Well, and I read that you had said before that, again, keeping the pantry stocked has been a challenge or a concern, right?
Sure, we could open up like another distribution so we could serve more people, but if we don't have additional food and resources to do that, then there's no way. It's not sustainable, and we want to be sustainable. And so it really is a community effort. Government, the local community, both those things work in partnership to make pantries work, and half of that equation is just missing, and there's no way to make up that gap by ourselves.
That's why I've started donating more. I will say the fact that America is experiencing such a massive economic crash right now, are you guys aware of the stripper index? The stripper financial index. Well, I'm gonna just hit you guys with a completely red-pilled, completely real statement. Streamers are literally strippers. You're basically trying to keep a high retention on a crowd by doing acts moment to moment that keep their attention, or even try to turn up the dials such that they might toss you a few dollars. You're working for tips, a nonstop stream of tips, usually in small amounts, like 1s to 5s, right? That's what strippers do. They heavily focus on retention. You want to keep the crowd on you. You've got to, like, slowly ease them into the good stuff, but you also got to, like, keep them, you know, keep them hooked, you know? You want to make sure they're constantly throwing the 1s out, right? In a lot of ways, being a streamer is a lot like being a stripper. Let's be real. Like the traditional strip club on the stripper pole with the crowd of guys throwing 1s. That is a lot like what being a stripper is like, but the digital version and without the nudity. Okay, let's be completely honest. That is absolutely what this job is like, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a thing called the Stripper Financial Index. The idea behind this is that going to a strip club and paying to see some titties in person is something that guys, mostly guys, let's be real, mostly guys do when they've got the expendable income. But that the moment things start to get rough in their life, the first thing they start cutting off of the budget is the strip club. When the strippers start to notice there are less guys showing up to the strip club, and when they notice that there are less guys, that the guys that are showing up are giving less money, it is almost always an indicator of an imminent financial crash. Literally 100% of the time. There is no good reason why, out of nowhere, for no reason, there should be a stark drop-off in the amount of guys coming to the strip club and the amount that those guys are giving the strippers. This means that a lot of people have been able to correctly identify an oncoming financial crash based on whether or not they've got a friend who's a stripper. If you have a friend who's a stripper, ask them how their business has been lately. If they work in like the traditional stripping industry at like a strip club, they'll probably tell you shit's been rough. Streaming is much the same. One of the first things people do when we're in a financial hard period is they stop donating to streamers as much. It's a similar kind of financial expense where it's not really all that necessary, but it's a nice thing to do if you can. And right now, Not a lot of people can. So if you can, it is appreciated if you support the stream, because I can tell you, as someone who is also able to notice the effect of the stripper financial index on my own career, it helps. But it also speaks volumes that, yeah, it is no joke. It is not just hype. The economy is in a really fucked state right now, and there are a lot of people who do not have the money to spend on leisure at the moment.
You've been doing this for over a decade here.
25 years. Pantry's been here for
Pantry
25
has.
years. I've been here for 5.
Right. So have you seen this amount of all of a sudden stress come in like this before?
So I've told people last Thursday, and I think just because of everything that's going on, last Thursday was probably the first day.
Yeah, I just realized something. You want to know what should make you guys what's the best way to put it? You know, you guys want to know what's the best evidence that my motivations, my goals are at least mostly in line with you guys's? If you guys are financially stable, making money, have a lot of extra money to spend on leisure, and all your bills are paid with a lot of money left over, that means that you guys donate to me more and I make more money. So realistically, my motivation, my goal should be to support policy and get policy put in place that benefits the average working class person, even lower income people, which tend to disproportionately be the kind of people that are left leaning, so that they have more money and can donate to me. So ironically, it is in my best interest for you guys to be rich off of, well, not rich, but financially secure off of good progressive policy. And that is one of the biggest differences between left-wing content creators and right-wing content creators. Right-wing content creators benefit from your suffering. That sucks.
In my time that I was scared because there's this sense that there's all this need. Even during the pandemic, we knew that there were additional resources that were coming in, but we're facing that kind of need again, and you don't have the security of those resources.
Well, thank you for the work you do, Pastor Chris. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for telling our story.
No, of course. So you get that, Boris.
Ace.
This is the stress that folks are feeling here, and also the importance of food pantries like this to really hold communities together as they're facing this, again, impending SNAP expiration.
God damn. There's actually another story about this. Millions of Americans may lose food assistance Saturday. I'm glad to see the news media is not letting this story slide. In fact, this video alone is only 7 hours old and has 300,000 views. Let's read some of the comments. I'm curious to see, because CNN gets brigaded by conservatives all the time. Let's see what the comments are looking like, because I can never predict what they'll look like on the below a CNN video. They can do everything else except to pay people what they work for. Where's the celebrity fundraisers? Laughing, crying emoji. I've been eating an apple and cheese at lunch in order to stretch my benefits. Pretty sad situation for seniors. It's not an emergency when it already has a solution. Emergency means emergencies only, not some political games. Sorry, emergency means emergencies only, not some political games. This is someone arguing why we shouldn't put money into SNAP. SNAP needs a gigantic overhaul for sure. More conditions to qualify and to stay qualified. FoodStamp program as well. Ah, yes, exactly what that program needs. To be shittier and more strict as to who can join it. This is absolutely crazy. There's absolutely no reason the US should be giving anything to any other country until we can take care of our own citizens. No one should go hungry in our country because our government is a cluster F. Ooh, this comment ratios in terms of likes most of the other ones we just read. So it seems like even the conservatives, their position is if we are not actively paying our most poor Americans to be able to eat, then we should not be putting money into any foreign aid. And that anti-foreign aid position is what a lot of Trump supporters and conservatives believe. But a lot of them don't believe in foreign aid because they believe money that would otherwise be going to feeding Americans is being spent on other countries. This is going to be a blatant showcase of the fact that no, there is money that could be going to feeding Americans that are going hungry. And we're also still giving money to Israel. The fact is, the Republicans you voted into office never intended to reallocate budget for hungry Americans or suffering veterans or struggling farmers or whatever group you've decided to tokenize and make the focus of your sympathy campaign. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable in any way, then please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. As I said before, it really does actively boost the channel and the algorithm and force YouTube to push my stuff. Social media is engagement focused, and it's what gives the right the edge online. So help to fight back against the right's cultural domination by dropping a like, a comment, and a sub down below if you also want to see more stuff from me. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, follow my social medias linked down below in the description. And certainly, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website to someone else, xanderhall.com/live. Gift a sub to someone else if you want to give them a blue name, purge their whiteness, if you will. It really does help a lot, and I appreciate it, but you can also support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or you can buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you all so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.